Yo, what up guys, it's your boy Zedakae here with a harvesting video for you today, basically in the game New World. As you can see on the screen, we've got all the different types of sickles ranging from flint all the way to orichalcum. Obviously some really cool items there and definitely worth doing if you would like to pursue this harvesting talent throughout your playing days on New World. So we'll get started off and we'll make ourselves a flint harvesting sickle. Obviously you need wood and you need some flint as well, obviously 5 and 4 apiece to make the basic flint harvesting sickle. And that will get you started off on your adventure with harvesting. So essentially, obviously there's a lot of different things you could be harvesting throughout the game, whether it's, you know, hemp or herbs or whatever it may be. And this video is just going to try and touch base on all those little things, all right? So obviously after the first spawning location in Monarch's Bluff near the watchtower, you can find hemp and you can find herbs reasonably quickly. So as you can see in the screen right there, it's pretty much just northeast of the watchtower, which is a pretty good, easy spot to start off with. So obviously hemp, from farming or harvesting the hemp, I should say, not farming, you get fibers. So fibers are really handy to make a lot of different things in the tannery and stuff like that. And herbs, the main herbs in Monarch's Bluff are paprika, oregano, and peppercorn. So definitely worth getting these things as well if you would like to do cooking and all that jazz. And it's definitely a good trait or a good skill to level up if you would like to continue with doing the various things with cooking and whatnot. Obviously there's also berries, you can also use those, and also corn. So berries and corn also utilize very well with cooking and whatnot, and corn especially for making flour and whatnot as well. So we also have the location as stated right there, right next to Lakeside Farm. The Lakeside Farm is located southeast of your main settlement. Obviously it's a big area for corn, so make sure you get as much corn as possible. As I said, essentially, you know, cooking is a very important thing in this game. Food's very important, obviously, if you want to go do dungeons or raiding or whatever it is, it's very important to be able to cook. All right, so moving on, now we have got the warm-up plate caps. Obviously, these things, they yield the mushroom, the fungal slime, and obviously the plate caps itself. Very, very cool thing as well for basically making potions, I believe, in Arcana, sorry, I should say. Obviously, there's another location right up the road here alongside the cliff. So definitely worth getting, guys, if you're into that style, or that's the sort of build or the sort of direction that you're taking your character on. Definitely worth going for those warm plate caps, and they're obviously scattered around the map, and they usually come in like 1s or 2s, okay? So obviously we've got the carrots also found at farms, basically near the township there, as you can see. Just trying to show you all the different locations on the map within Monarch's Bluff, just to make it easy for you guys so you don't have to go search up the internet. You can basically just come straight here, watch the video, and go for it. So it's a tier 2 vegetable, cooked vegetable, raw foods. It's a tier 2 raw food as well. So that's the carrots, summed up for cooking. And then obviously squash is another thing you also find on farms, which is pretty handy too. Obviously you'll find a lot of carrots and corn and squash and cabbage and stuff like that, all in these various locations on farms. And they obviously have monsters and stuff around, which unfortunately makes it a bit hard to just basically go farm it straight away or harvest it. So as you can see, there's cabbage on the screen right now. Essentially you have to basically kill off the monsters and try and get to them best you can. We also have the broccoli as well. It's a tier 4 vegetable. Broccoli is pretty handy. Make sure you get plenty of broccoli in your diet, guys. Make sure you do it, get it done. The family orchard there, obviously on the eastern side of the Monarch's Bluffs area, just before the other side of the map. And we also have the potatoes. Potatoes are really handy as well. The Aruda Ranch is another good spot for them. So make sure you go hit up that spot as well if you like potatoes. Obviously a very good thing for making certain stews and whatnot as well. So alright guys, so moving on from all those different things and the cooking side of things, we have got what's called magical plants. The first one is the shock bulb. We also have the earth spine. So these are pretty cool magical plants. Obviously you can see on the screen there times to harvest and to track them at what levels you need to be. Obviously we have got the life bloom as well. So a really cool thing. You get obviously the life motes. You get different motes from different magical plants as well. So obviously this is varying from plant to plant, and generally they come in either, you know, 2 or 3s throughout the region on Monarch's Bluffs and in the different regions over the entirety of the world. Obviously, they're around, character XP is about 22 and harvesting XP is about 90 or so, roughly. So then we got the Dragon Glory, which is also another cool, basically, magical plant as well. So as you can see there, obviously, you get the Dragon Glory leaf, the stem, the fire mote, and the flower. So basically, the same sort of method applies to each magical plant. Then we've got the Blight Roots. So Blight Roots are generally found around, like, a lot of these farming sort of areas, a lot of these, you know, these dark, evil sort of contraptions of, you know, pirates or whatever you want to call them. Like, yeah, they're just freaking crazy things. The death modes, the blight root stems, the leaf, and the flower, obviously to harvest level 30 to track level 45. And I think lastly we also have got the river crest. Obviously a lot of these river crests obviously are found, well, guess what, near rivers, right? So Antares is one spot you can find them. You get the water moat, the river crest stem, the leaf, and the flower. Obviously, there's another one too. Obviously, the soul sprouts are found generally, you know, little temples and like near skeletons and those sort of creatures and stuff like that. Archana is obviously a pretty common spot, like I'm showing you on the screen right now. To get those, you get the soul moat, the stem, the leaf, and the flower from the soul sprout as well. So basically, moving on now. So for the rest of the video, we're just going to be basically showing you all the different areas that you could basically find different spots for berries. So as you can see here, I won't go into too much detail. I'll basically let the video do, you know, the details of where these things are. Obviously, there's herbs, there's hemp, all the different sorts of magical plants that you can utilize, and basically that's the gist of the video, is just showing you the spots and where you can go find them, just so you don't have to go basically find them yourself. So you can basically set up a route so that you can say, all right guys, I'm going to start off at Monarch's Bluff, so I'm going to basically head either east or south or west first, and you just basically go to the furthest point and then work yourself back towards your town, so you can put basically everything back into storage. So, as mentioned before, obviously berries are really good for, you know, cooking and whatnot. Obviously, there's other uses of them as well. I think some of these things, like especially with the magical plants, you can use them for the Arcana in that shop, and you can make the different types of varying things. Like, can you make staffs? You can make heaps of different things, and it's very, very handy. Obviously, you've got different things which I haven't shown actually, which is the prisma blooms, which I'll show you probably later in the video as well. You've got different colors. Obviously, turquoise, red, orange, magenta, green, cyan, brown, blue, and black. You actually got yellow and white as well, and violet, sorry, as well. So they obviously make the different types of dyes, which are pretty handy as well, guys. So obviously you can use the mushrooms as well, you get from the plate caps as well, like I said before, for cooking and whatnot. Obviously the hemp, the fibers is a very important thing. As you will learn as you're playing for a new world, you just generally need to ensure that you're not just bypassing certain things. Like, you want to be making sure that you're mining every rock, you're mining, or you're harvesting every bit of hemp or herbs. Don't just walk past it and think, oh, it's fine, I'll get back to it later on. You just got to be like, okay, look, set up a direction, set up a path, and just work towards the end. So I actually just remembered right now that this is actually a point that this is a den where these crazy wolves are hanging out, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to get some herbs here, and then unfortunately I got a bit unstuck, as you'll see in the upcoming clip. As I was trying to harvest the hemp, the wolves have a different idea, as you can see here, where I just get basically totally destroyed, tried to escape, and that was a pretty poor decision on my part. So guess what, we have to go back to Monarch's Bluffs, and we have to basically start all over again. But that's fine, you know, that's what the teleportation is for. So we get straight back into the action, and we're back to harvesting some more hemp. So, you know, our favorite thing is the hemp, and you know, it's good. So like I mentioned, this is basically the gist. Obviously, you've basically got the basics for what this video, the foundation of this video is for, is to, you know, essentially, you know, keep leveling your harvesting up as much as possible. Ensure that you're doing the right thing. Make sure you go into all these spots that you see on the screen. Make sure you're doing this, like, obviously the respawn rates on a lot of these things are like potentially like 10, 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on like whether it's a magical plant or whether it's the hemp or whether it's the herbs. Obviously the lower tier harvesting things are going to be a lot shorter cooldowns, and they're going to come up a lot more frequently. And basically that's, you just essentially just have to be basically on like a repeat cycle and constantly doing these things over and over and over again. Because unfortunately, if you don't do this, like, if you don't do it like that, you'll leave and you'll come back and be like, yo, I swear it's been like 10, 20 minutes, but it's gone again, because someone else has been doing the same thing. They're just waiting for it. So if you really want to push this harvesting aspect, you just need to be in the region. You need to be just lurking around, doing quests while you're waiting for things to respawn, and, you know, make sure you keep coming back to those exact same spots. Obviously, I'll be making videos in the near future, obviously in different regions, but, you know, we just thought we'd get up a basic harvesting guide for now, just to show you guys, you know, the essential areas that are really important, that some of these spots you wouldn't even think of either, like right towards the edge of the map. Like sometimes you might just walk straight past it, you're doing a quest and you don't really remember where it is, or you forget about it. So the idea is that this video can basically showcase exactly where in Monarch's Bluffs you can find these things, where they respawn and the respawn rates and whatnot, and you can keep persisting at, you know, trying to get that harvesting level up to 200. So as you'll see later in this video, obviously I hit level 100 as well. So obviously the next video I'll be doing will be obviously entailed around doing the higher stuff as you get up to 100 and higher, which would be like silkweed and wire fiber as well. So that's basically just two. Another thing I also forgot to mention is you can also get blight moths, earthshell turtles, floating spinefish life moths, lightning beetles, salamander snails, and soul worms as well from various broken logs you'll see just basically on their side. And you'll basically see this little shining, whether it's a fire snail or you know, the lightning beetle just sitting on top, and it takes literally a second to harvest. Obviously, you only have to be level 0 to harvest it, so that's perfectly fine. And essentially they give off different motes ranging from death, earth, water, life, air, fire, and soul motes, which obviously, as mentioned before, is good for the Arcana skill set. So as you can see on the bottom side of the map, there's I generally find in Monarch's Bluffs, definitely to the bottom right, so the southeast side of the map. Obviously you've got the corruption areas as well, but there's definitely a lot near the farms. There's obviously a lot of corn, there's a lot of squash, there's a lot of carrots, and then obviously you've got a lot of like the life blooms and the soul sprouts and the warm plate caps and whatnot as well. So obviously the hemp's literally everywhere though, let's be honest. Like if you can't find hemp or herbs, then you're just not looking out for it. But these are the main areas. Obviously that southeast spot of the map is definitely the main spot to go in Monarch's Bluffs if you want most of these things for harvesting. And would definitely suggest going to this part of the map more frequently than, say, the top part. Like, I definitely found like the northeastern side of Monarch's Bluffs, definitely not as much. There we go, guys. We also reached level 100 harvesting, as you can see there. So that was pretty pog. And, you know, I thought, you know what, let's go back to Monarch's Bluffs, and then I'll show you, like, what's in the north and eastern parts. Like, because obviously at a lower level, you're going to have to do this sort of stuff first. Like with the hemp, as you can see there. Obviously, some of the starting quests are pretty close to that hemp, and you've got the herbs there pretty close too. There's a little spot of herbs just here as well, so it's pretty handy. Don't mind me just putting some random fire on the ground, but that's fine. And then obviously we start heading more towards the east, which is where you find all your soul sprouts and, you know, all your little cheeky skeletons and your corrupted areas. They're just trying to like make your life, you know, a bit of a living hell, but that's fine. We'll deal with it. Like that's the biggest thing as well with this is like, just bear in mind that as you're harvesting and you're moving on the map and you're getting your cranberries or your blueberries or whatever it is, just ensure that you're not such a low level that, like, you might be a high enough level in harvesting to go harvest something like a soul sprout, but if your overall level is just super low, just ensure that you're like not trying to aggravate the enemies or like, you know, the skeletons or the punishers or whoever it is, like the bad guys. You basically don't want to get them basically aggravated onto you while you're trying to harvest. Another little trick obviously is some of the plants you can harvest them basically as much as possible to the point that the monster's about to hit you. So basically then you can just disengage from the monster from hitting you and then basically harvest the thing that you just started off. There's a salamander snail there and that prisma boon I just mentioned earlier. There's a fire motes. So as you can tell, there's all these little handy spots in the eastern side of the map. Definitely, for what I've seen, the eastern side seems to be the most popular side of the map for Monarch's Bluffs for the harvesting purposes. Obviously, things in the way as well, like if you're going to go do mining and stuff like that, just bear in mind that it is a big harvesting run if you're going to just do Monarch's Bluffs by itself. So either refrain from, you know, mining or skinning or anything like that if you just want to really prioritize that harvesting, and just try and keep your storage in your backpack or your space in your inventory slots as free as possible, so that you can basically do a big enough run so that you're not running all the way back to Monarch's Bluffs and then putting stuff back in storage and then coming all the way back again. So that's the basic gist of it anyway. Obviously some more prisma bloom slots and some plate caps. Entries is a pretty good spot too. A lot of soul sprouts down there and some plate caps as well. As you can see here, there's another life moth as well, so life moths are pretty cool. So we'll get one of those baddies, and yeah, they've all got their purposes. I do like a lot of Arcana related things, and that's the main reason why I really push the harvesting. I also push a lot of, you know, mining and stuff like that, but it just comes down to like what build you're doing in New World, and you know what your direction is. Like for me personally, obviously I'm running a fire DPS staff and I'm running a rapier as well, so a lot of the stuff is dexterity and intelligence, so a lot of the things that I'm trying to level up, you know, definitely bounces off from harvesting. So that's generally why it's a skill that I've been pushing quite heavily. Obviously the earth spine there, you'll see a lot of earth spines in like 2s or 3s, which is really handy. Same with like your dragon glories and stuff like that. Soul sprouts, you generally find they're pretty spread out and, you know, pretty close together, but they'll be, you know, they're not going to be directly right next to each other most of the time. They'll be like in the water, or they'll be like within like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 meters away from each other. And the life blooms are the same as earth spines in a way. They would just be, you know, 1, 2, or 3, which is pretty handy. River crests are definitely like your not the Blight Roots, sorry, like your soul sprouts and stuff like that. They'll generally be pretty spread out, so just depending on what you want. But you know, don't skimp out and say, oh look, I'm not going to need this today, I'm just going to walk straight past it. Like I said, the biggest key thing with this guide is making sure that you're getting everything. Like once you hit level 30, every time you see an earth spine or every time you see a life bloom, like just rotate your camera and just search for a big time. Make sure that you're going to get these things. Make sure that you're basically harvesting as much as possible, because the one time that you're like, man, I really wish I harvested that thing, and you might be able to find it again, or, you know, every time you try to go harvest that same spot, someone else has already harvested it, and then you're just in a world of hurt, and you're just like, man, I'm super frustrated, I just can't do this, right? And, you know, there's no harm in taking a break and going and doing something else, but, you know, that's what's just generally the first time you see it. Try and take a, you know, a mental image of where it is, or as I said, use this video for the Monarch Bluff spots. Obviously, if it's different regions, I'll put up videos in the future on the different various regions, like Everfall and so forth, on, you know, where these other, like, Blight Roots and magical plants are, and hemp and the herbs and so forth, alright? Obviously, we've got some Blight Roots here, so obviously I'm just trying to do some little cheeky little mechanisms here, like, you know, one thing I've noticed too with harvesting near, you know, monsters or creatures and stuff is, especially on farms or like near Blight Roots and stuff, is just go in there and just crouch and slowly walk up to it. I find that sometimes if you're not aggroing them, the monsters or the skeletons or the zombies or whatever you want to call them, you know, they're not going to come at you. And most of the time you can basically sneakily just take away what you want, the Blight Root, and just run off. Like, you generally eventually outspeed them, unless it's like a puma or like a, you know, something crazy like that that will catch up to, like alligators are just freaking ridiculous. Like, if you go for river cress as well and you need alligators, just bear in mind that they are strong and they will chase you down. They're not going to hesitate, you know what I'm saying? So obviously a lot of Blight Roots down in this far side township area, as you can see. So obviously the southeast from the settlement as well. So make sure, like I said, just make sure you're getting all of them. Like, really have a good look around. Obviously sometimes the farms, you might know what's actually there. But just, you know, just go lurk around for like 20-30 minutes. Go do something else, do a quest, come back, and then hopefully, you know, something might respawn that farm, whether it's cabbage or broccoli or carrot or something. And it'll be definitely worth the wait, because then the whole thing should be full, hopefully, as long as no one else has already farmed it. And you can basically just harvest it yourself and move on. Obviously, there's corruption spots as well, which are really annoying. So just bear in mind, if you're going to get like a life boom near a corruption spot, I have been, you know, scared in the past or been hit. Like, as I said, I'm basically level 26 in this video. I'm a little bit higher now, but, you know, these guys will come out of the corruption. If no one's doing the corruption at the time, these things come out with their little red skulls on them, and they will one hit you or they will two hit you. So just bear in mind the level that you are at as well. You need to ensure that the area or the region that you're in is, you know, not too high, so that you can harvest safely and you're not just going to get destroyed by these random creatures coming out of the corruption, or, you know, these pumas coming out of the trees that you don't see from ages away or whatever it is. So obviously we've got the Trez as well, this little spot here, southern eastern spot again. So like I said, there's a lot of farms and areas down here, a lot of earth spine, a lot of soul sprouts, and a lot of Blight Roots as well for the magical plants. We've got some river cress down more towards the south side near the Aroda Ranch as well, so that's pretty cool down the bottom. So make sure you get all those river cress as well. If you want to go into more depth of information about what the actual magical plants do, I could definitely do something like that in the next video. I can do that in a more specific terminology with what you can use these things for, with all the different motes and the stems and the leaves, and we can definitely go into more detail then as well. So obviously I try to make this video as short as possible, guys. I don't want to ramble on too much about different things, but you know what, I don't want to just be sitting here listening to nothing. So this is what you're going to get. You're going to get basically as many different clips as I could find as possible, because believe it or not, Monarch Bluff is still pretty big, and that's only one region out of the whole of New World. So you got to think to yourself, like, imagine trying to do just one region and trying to showcase you all the different spots you can go to. Like, I think I covered pretty much every spot in Monarch Bluffs. I am unsure on the more to the west side of Monarch Bluffs, but I generally concentrated on the eastern side just because, you know, that's all I had time for recording was, and as it was already going to be a pretty long video, being 20 minutes or so. A lot of shock bulbs just southeast of the settlement, as you can see here up on the cliffs and whatnot, the adamant mines. Pretty handy spot to go to as well, so make sure you go hit those up as well. Yeah, like I said, shock bombs are really cool. I really like the way that the game has been developed, and that they show these different magical plants, and they like the sound effects and like the little auras and the sounds, and you know, like the colors and everything that they put off from them is friggin' awesome. Like, I really love it. And we'll basically see what happens in the future as to what they're going to show us in regards to whether they're going to extend on the harvesting thing, they're going to add more features in, or more plants, or more magical plants, or whatever it is. We'll have to wait and see, but for now, this is pretty good. You know, get to level 200 harvesting, you're doing alright. Like, it takes a while to get to the level 200 harvesting. Obviously, with the XP, it takes from each individual magical plant, and from the hemp and whatnot, and then you've obviously got to go to tanneries and blah, 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 blah. Alright, guys, so we're coming up towards the end of the video. So we've got the Clayson State in the Archina. Obviously said that foresty part there's a very good spot, obviously, for Dragon Glory as well. Friggin' love Dragon Glory. Just like seeing those little little flames coming off is awesome. So definitely make sure you get those. But level 30 for the magical plants, hemp, And basically all your like your herbs and stuff obviously you can get from level 0, and then obviously from level 100 onwards, which we'll do another video later on, will be in regards to doing things over level 100, which will be like silkweed and wire fiber and so forth. Alright guys, so just a small plug guys, make sure you check out my videos on this channel, my streams. I do stream Dota and New World here pretty regularly, so make sure you check those out. I really appreciate all the support so far guys. If you haven't checked out my Zedakae Pokemon channel, make sure you go check that out too. My Discord link should be in the description below, and obviously my Instagram and everything as well guys. So I really appreciate all the support today. Hopefully I covered all bases on this video. All feedback is welcome. Obviously I could definitely talk the talk, but when it comes to actual useful information, you guys, you just tell me what you want to see. If this is decent, let me know. If it's not, I need to know, okay guys? So anyway guys, this is the last Soul Sprout, so thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I'll basically have to see you even the next New World stream or the next New World video, and just let me know guys. There'll probably be something pretty cool in the near future, okay guys? Alright, until next time, peace out.